Hello, BookTube, and welcome back to our chapter-by-chapter read-through of Frank Herbert's masterpiece, Dune. Always a delight to talk about this book, and we are at the point now of the downfall of House Atreides. It feels fast. It always feels fast getting to this point, and because of Frank Herbert's mastery as a writer, no matter how many times you've read this book, you always hope that somehow the downfall of House Atreides will end differently, especially for one character in particular, Duke Leto Atreides, a hero, the harried and heroic leader of House Atreides who led his family into what he knew was a trap, hoping that through the skill of his men-at-arms and the excellence of his information, he could work his way out of it, find a way through it. Of course, we know from the beginning of the book that that isn't true. The Bene Gesserit say for the father, nothing. And also, the epigraphs to every chapter here are being written by someone named Princess Irulan about events that took place in the distant past. Events that the Duke did not survive. So we know his fate. We know it perfectly well, but you keep hoping that it will be different. And in the little chapter that we're reading today, we see him defeated. He is laying on the floor. He is unconscious. His betrayer, Dr. Yueh, is standing over him as soldiers are loudly ransacking the palace, going room to room, callously knocking things around because Yueh has betrayed the family. He has lowered the energy shields around the compound and killed the Shadout Mapes. He's killed the housekeeper so that he's laid the door open so that armed forces could sweep in when they weren't expected, and mop the floor with the Atreides defenders, mainly because those armed forces, in addition to Harkonnen men, include the Imperial Sardaukar, the Emperor's Death Squad commandos, who are better warriors than anyone, on a man-to-man basis, which, thanks to the technology of this future world that Frank Herbert is imagining, means something. Hand-to-hand combat means something in this world through a weird combination of a lack of bullets and a presence of energy fields. Often things come down to how effective your men are in melee fighting. And that's the scene that we get here. It's very short. It's very static. It starts with Dr. Yueh standing over Duke Leto as a Sardaukar warrior skids to a stop in the hallway and takes stock of the situation. So that's the Duke. So he doesn't seem so tough. He doesn't seem so, is he dead? Dr. Yueh has to inform him, now he's not dead, he's been drugged. But I suggest that you bind him because he will be waking up. The Sardaukar is contemptuous because Duke Leto is no threat to him. Probably that is true. Leto is skilled with the use of a knife, a man in the prime of his strength, but he probably couldn't defeat a Sardaukar warrior on his own. Whereas, oddly enough, he is surrounded by people who can. I think it's safe to say that Gurney Halleck could. I think it's safe to say that Duncan Idaho could. I think it's safe to say that even in his old age, Thufir Hawat could. And the Lady Jessica certainly could. And probably her son, Paul. Yueh hears the soldier refer to him as just casually as a traitor. And I think the little chapter's most memorable bit is that in that second, Yueh realizes that that's how history is going to view him. How he had any illusions to that effect before now, we don't know. But when he hears that just so casually said, my name is synonymous with that word to the point where you can use the word traitor as a name to address me, that's when he knows that that's how history is going to view him. He just has to bring himself not to care. He has a whole bunch of plates in the air, after all. He has inserted a fake tooth in the Duke's jaw that is full of deadly poison. He knows that Baron Vladimir Harkonnen, the head of the enemies who've caused this whole downfall, is going to want to gloat over the Duke in person. He knows that's going to happen. So that Leto will be awake and will remember that all he has to do is bite down on that tooth to kill everyone around him. He'll kill himself at the same time, but he'll kill everyone around him, including the Baron. And Yueh has one other plate in the air, in the chaos of the sack of the Capitol building here, where the Sardaukar warriors have set fire to the trees that line the avenue. It's dark. There's chaos everywhere. Presumably there's fighting near or nearby. In that chaos, the Sardaukar mainly want Yueh to stay out of the way. A few of them order him to just get out of the way. When the Baron wants you, he'll call for you. But until then, stay out of our way. We've got important business to do. But Yua has important business to do as well, because this is a little shift in time. This chapter takes, if you were to plot this book linearly, this chapter takes place before the one that we just read. Because here's the chapter where Yua finds the ornithopter, the winged craft that is going to take the Lady Jessica and Paul into the desert and abandon them there. He finds that craft. It's just sitting there. It's waiting, because I presume that it's right now, at this point, that the Baron and his mentat Peter are talking over the bound and gagged Jessica. I'm assuming that scene is happening now while Yua is preparing this ornithopter. He has, for instance, in addition to hiding a kit of supplies underneath the pilot's seat, he's also left a note about himself, and most importantly of all, the Duke's signet ring. The ring that is the sign of his authority, and that is the property of his heir, and only his heir, the one true heir. He wants to insert that. He wants to bring that ring. He's taken it off the Duke's body. Sardaukar notices immediately that it's not there, but Yua says, sometimes he gives it to subordinates as a sign of, I did this. I gave this person this order. He doesn't want to be too closely questioned about it, but he has the ring in his pocket. And when he is shunted aside by the Sardaukar, he puts the ring in that kit on that ornithopter. So it's all up to Duncan Idaho now. Yua is hoping that Duncan Idaho will arrange to save Jessica and Paul from their exile in the desert and from being hunted by the Harkonnens. And that's it. That's the scene. It's chaos in the household. It's Yua realizing that all nations, all generations will call him a traitor. And it's him adding a few more tidbits to this ornithopter, which is only barely guarded. The fact that the ornithopter that is going to take the Lady Jessica and the heir to Duke Leto Atreides to death is not well guarded always struck me as a little bit unrealistic. It doesn't seem realistic that Yua, of all people, even the Sardaukar warrior that he talks to says you're easily recognizable. It's always struck me as a little bit unbelievable that he, of all people, is allowed to just wander up to this thing and sneak on board it. I mean, if he can sneak on board it, then an Atreides lieutenant can sneak on board it. That's never seemed believable to me, but even less believable to me, the part that I hesitate to say that it's a mistake on the part of Frank Herbert because he's a fantastic writer, but surely there was a household guard at the palace at Arrakeen. Surely it wouldn't just be that you turn off the shields and the Sardaukar just come in. Surely there would be hallway to hallway, room to room fighting. Guards everywhere, fighting. And that we don't get any hint of that. We don't get any hint of that in this little chapter. We don't get any hint of that ever happens. I don't really know. I guess that would have interfered with the narrative, with the narrative beats that Frank Herbert wants to do. Nevertheless, it's a little bit odd. You would have a concentration of guards and soldiers in your compound, in your headquarters, in your home, and they don't appear to be there. It seems a bit much to ask that everyone connected with House Atreides was caught napping, especially when they were on heightened alert. But in any case, that is this scene, and it's very small. We will move on to far meatier scenes almost immediately. So I'll wrap this up. That is Dune for today, and I'll be back. Thank you, BookTube.